Hi there. Welcome to Craft with Kathie. I have a fun little project for today. I actually had intended to do a bunch of white onesies and a couple of these colored ones, but the white ones came out of the package a little wrinkly, to say the least, which is kind of weird. They were folded up so nice and neat. I'm surprised to see them like this. But anyway, I'm going to have to iron these to flatten them out a little bit, but this is a little too wrinkled for me to work with right now. So I'm going to do these little multicolored ones. These are a size, I think, for 6 to 9 months, yeah. And I'm going to be using the Oh So Bright transfers and possibly the tiered tray. I want to do probably lighter colors on this just because of, you know, they're colored shirts, of course. And I want them to be, you know, bright and cheery for little kids. So I don't know if I'm going to use the tiered tray or not, but both of these transfers actually have adorable little images and sayings that would be actually perfect for either. So if you've got the tiered tray, the Christmas tiered tray, think a little bit outside of the box. I mean, some of these are great, like the wording for putting on the book stack and the little signs and the chalkboard and the little miniature cutting board, whatever. They're great for that. But some of these can also be used on something small like a onesie, or even like our little 3x3 frames, and put them on like a refrigerator magnet. So just think out of the box, outside the box a little bit with that. I'm going to move this out of my way here and get started with Oh So Fun. I'm sorry, Oh So Bright. Oh So Fun. Oh, it's Saturday. What could I say? And for everyone who's been so concerned about my little Maggie, she seems to be doing better today. I'm really very relieved. She ate breakfast today. She ate a little bit dinner last night. And I'm just giving her smaller quantities, and I've kind of switched her food and mixing everything with rice. But honestly, this little dog is spoiled. My brother spoiled her. She's so used to getting chicken. I'm looking underneath the table at her, and she's listening to me, that if it's not chicken, she doesn't want it, where normally her regular food is salmon and sweet potatoes. So fingers crossed that nothing's amiss and that she'll be feeling better. Normally I use our ink mat when I ink things, but our ink mat can be cut to size, and a lot of times I cut it down. It comes in 2 different sizes, the 18 by 18, which is great for our pillows. And then I think the other size is maybe 11 by 18, something like that. And I usually just cut that right in half, so I have 2 mats to do t-shirts. But for onesies, I just haven't cut the ink mat down. And I generally just use cardboard. You need some type of cardboard to act as a barrier between the top of the shirt that you're going to ink and the back side, because you wouldn't want the ink to bleed through. So I'm just going to insert this cardboard in the little onesie. Now our ink mats are actually adhesive, so they actually hold the fabric in place, but I don't think that's going to be an issue with something as small as this. And then of course, when our ink has to be heat set, so always make sure you take your cardboard or the ink mat out of the thing that you inked before you heat set it. And you can heat set with a heat press, or you can heat set actually with an iron. They're both very, very easy to do. So the big difference between inking and chalking is that you use ink instead of chalk. And our ink usually has a white lid, whereas our chalk will have a black. There are a couple cases during the pandemic, due to supply chain issues, when we ended up with something like this for our ink. It actually had a black lid and they just put a white sticker on it. So that's basically so you accidentally don't use chalk when you want to use ink. Because ink, once heat set, will be permanent. Chalk, if I use chalk on fabric and I washed it, it's fine if you use it on fabric like on a banner or something like that. But if you wash the fabric, it'll wash out because it's water soluble. So as we go along, feel free to just hop in with any comments. It could be related to this project, it could be related to chalk, it could be related to things about the holiday, whatever you want to talk about, I'm here to talk about today. And I'm just trying to decide what I want to put on the pink. I think I'm going to use, I've got some copper ink here, and I think I'm going to use the copper with the deer, and then maybe just say Merry Christmas. So I'm going to take my transfer off of the backer. I do not need to fuzz this because it's going on cloth, and I want it to stick as snugly as possible. So I'm just going to position it, smooth it down, make sure there's no air bubbles. Actually, it looks like I need to move this over just a little hint there. Sometimes just to make things easier, I'll fold whatever I'm inking or whatever in half so that I have the center line and I know exactly where to place something. And there's all those little, what are they called? They're like acrylic placement things for doing t-shirts that are great in different sizes. I don't know if I should put the Merry Christmas above the deer. Maybe I'll put the Merry Christmas above the deer. And I'm going to use a little Stampin' Trick and just do this on an angle. No, I really don't like that, do I? Let's flip it around and line them up. You just don't want any wrinkle underneath, and of course I did it again. Let's try that once more. And I'll put the little Merry Christmas underneath it. Now, when you're inking this, of course, you don't want to go off the surface onto, you want to keep all the ink on your transfer. And if you're ever unsure or you're concerned about that, you can actually use our placement tape to act as a barrier, or you can use even washi tape or painter's tape, something like that. And the #1 rule about inking is, anyone remember? Make sure you have clean hands. You always want to keep checking your hands as you're inking because you don't want to inadvertently get ink on your fingers and then smudge the fabric. Sometimes you could lift the ink off if you do that, but don't bank on it. So basically, if you do make a smudge, think of you're going to have to turn that into part of the design. So I'm going to use the copper, or the copper shimmer. And I'm going to be careful here not to go over my edges. I thought I had some placement tape out here, and I guess I don't. So I'm just going to be real careful. Dip it into my ink. Finger check, make sure I didn't pick up any ink from the jar. And then use my squeegee to just go over the silkscreen portion of the transfer. And with ink, I like to go over it a couple times to actually give the fabric a chance to absorb the ink, if you will. And then before I lift this, I will lift it very slowly to make sure that my ink went through. And if it did not, I'll just place it back down and add a little bit more ink and go over it again. I'm just going over this very gently. I don't want to get too close to the bottom here and go off of my transfer, so I'm going to go up and away from me to make sure I don't hit this little area in between. And I like it to go in one direction with the ink and just go over it a few times to make sure it's been absorbed into the fabric. Finger check, make sure I don't have any ink on my fingers Aha, I do. I have a little package of baby wipes out here to clean my fingers, just in case. So let me clean that ink off. I'm going to do a finger check. It's the one thing with inking, always check your fingers. And now I'm going to lift this up slowly and just take a look at it. That looks very nice. Oh, how pretty. Cute little reindeer on a little onesie with a Merry Christmas. How sweet. Finger check. Now I'm going to move this out of the way and let it dry without putting anything on it. I want to let it dry, and then once it's dry, I will heat set it. And heat setting is really actually very, very easy. You could use an iron, you could use a heat press, but once the ink is dry on your surface, all you need to do is put a piece of parchment paper over it, and then use your heat press, set it to whatever is appropriate for the temperature, and 30 seconds with the heat press, or use your iron, set the iron on whatever temperature is appropriate for the fabric, and you know, obviously have the parchment paper over your shirt or whatever, and iron it, moving the iron constantly for 4 minutes. Turn the shirt inside out, put the parchment paper over it again, and then iron it for another 4 minutes. And that's all you have to do. If it's if you're using a heat press, same thing. 30 seconds on the outside, flip it around, turn it inside out, put the parchment paper over it, and then another 30 seconds while it's inside out. So it's quick and easy. The only thing is make sure that your ink has dried on the fabric first. If you don't want to wait for it to dry, I usually just let my things dry overnight. If you don't want to wait overnight, then you could hit it with a hair dryer or whatever to make sure it's dry. Just make sure it's not dry and it's not tacky. So in keeping with my thing of clean fingers, I want to make sure my surface is nice and clean too. I don't want to get any ink on the next one I'm going to do. But wasn't that quick and easy? We've got one shirt down, 2 more to go. Simple, simple, simple. I'm going to check my fingers again. I know I've got a little of the shimmer on them, but that's fine. I don't have any ink. Okay, let's go with this navy blue shirt. Well, it's really not navy blue. It's more like a royal blue, but it's a dark blue. And I think because it's so dark, I'm going to use the white ink. My little piece of cardboard, just slide it between the layers so that the ink doesn't go through to the back. And I usually try to have that centered and level. And with what I'm going to do on this is, I think because it's such a dark shirt, what do you think about a snowflake? Wouldn't that be cute? Should I do more than one snowflake possibly? Let's try multiple snowflakes. Okay, I don't have my cardboard over because I have it centered. Let me move this to the side and we'll see if we could put a couple different snowflakes on here. So I'm grabbing my white ink. Ah, it's new. Let me open it up. Get rid of that lid. Check my fingers, because of course I've got ink on my fingers opening up the jar. Make sure everything's clean. My transfer's down nice and smooth. I've got the cardboard underneath it. Grab my squeegee and let's apply this snowflake. Again, I'm going to try and go in one direction. Make sure I keep my squeegee on my surface. And of course, after you've applied your paste, your ink, you want to smooth it out and remove any excess. Now I'm going to be a little tricky with this and reuse this without washing it and see how that goes. I'm going to remove any excess ink. Gone over it a couple times here. Make sure I've got all the edges. Finger check. Isn't that cute? Now, I'm going to put it down one more time over here. I don't want to press it down with my fingers because I don't want ink on my fingers. And I need to move that cardboard over a little bit. Okay. And I'm going to ink another snowflake. Sometimes if you're careful with your transfer, you can actually get 3 uses out of it without cleaning it. Just have to be a little bit careful here. Getting a little bit close to the end. I want to be careful with that. Oops, and I definitely don't want to drop my squeegee on my shirt. That wouldn't go right. I'd have to speckle it or something. Make it look intentional, right? Go back over it again, try and remove any excess. We think we can get one more in here. Can I fit one at the top? I don't know if I can. I'm going to put one on the bottom then. Move my cardboard over a little bit. And see if we can get one more use out of that. Just take your time and relax about it. It really is quite simple to do. Okay, I've gone over this a few times. Finger check. Let's lift this up. Oh, how sweet. Okay, finger check. I'm going to move this over and let it dry. I'm going to clean up those little transfers and then go on to the next one. See how easy? Let me put my ink back in the jar. There's no sense wasting it. Let me scrape off the squeegee. A little chalk tray out there so that I don't get it all over my surface. clean these up. And you clean them in the same manner that you would clean your transfers after using chalk paste. I would run them over to the sink, let water run on them, over them, and you can massage them with your fingers and get the paste off. Or if you want to use a board eraser, you could do that. The board erasers have been cut in half. I've used them a couple times. So I'm going to just wet these down. Wet my board eraser a little bit. And then clean off the excess paste off the top. See how easy they clean up with a board eraser? It makes it really, really quick and simple. Remember, our transfers are reusable 8 to 12 times or more. As long as you don't have paste caught in stuck in the silk screen and it's still sticky, they're ready to go. Okay, so I'm going to use a disinfecting wipe to clean the rest of that up. Take off the excess paste off the top, and if there's any remaining, flip it over, clean the, ink, clean the ink off the back side. I generally use like a circular motion, and you could do this, you know what, just put it on the bottom of the sink and use the disinfecting wipe there if you want. I don't usually use a board eraser on my adhesive side because I don't want it pulling the adhesive off. Once you get the ink off, then you go over and you want to take off the fabric or the fuzzies that you pulled up by having it on fabric. And you can see I've got some of that dark blue, the royal blue, coming off on my disinfecting wipe. So I want to make sure I get all the lint off of it. Usually go in one direction, and then I'm going to put this aside to dry. And once it's dry, I'll put it back on its backer sheet, and it's ready to be used again. Simple, quick, and easy, right? Now, I did get a little discoloring of the transfer with the copper shimmer paste, and that's fine. It doesn't hurt the transfer. It just stained the silk screen a little bit, but as long as I get all the excess ink out of there, it's fine. And if you're ever not sure, lift it up to the light and look through it. You can see through it and you don't see any ink or paste stuck in the mesh of the silk screen. It's fine. Okay, the question is what to put on that light purple onesie. I'm leaning towards that heart. It's like a little Nordic heart. It looks so cute. I'm going to make sure I get the lint off of here. I'm going to put it aside to dry. And then I might as well clean my squeegee so I could reuse it. Or maybe Joy. I was actually thinking of going with the eucalyptus, the green on it, but maybe not. Maybe white. The Christmas tree or the heart. I think I'm going to go with the heart. It's just so cute. Let me grab another piece of cardboard. Or like I said, you could use your ink mat. That's fine. Just adding a little bit of pizzazz to baby onesies. A little something appropriate for the holidays. Using our ink. Quick and simple. My cardboard isn't perfectly centered, but I think there's plenty of room on there for the heart. So I just want to center this, and I'm using the little sizing stamp at the top to center it with. No, I'm going to move that down just a teensy bit. Smooth it down. Check my fingers. I'm going to use white again because I think the white will look nice on the light purple. Just want to be careful I do not go off the edge here. And notice when I turn the squeegee around in my hand, I'm keeping it over the transfer just in case it slips out of my hand. It's going to hit the transfer and not my shirt. I'm going over it again just to make sure I have everything covered. Removing any excess ink. Set that aside. It's going to clean my fingers, but I guess I'm okay. Let's lift it up and check it out. Oh, isn't that sweet? What a cute little set of onesies. Let me cap this up. So, any questions on ink, just let me know. Like I said, it is very easy to use. Main thing is you want to do a couple finger checks. Always make sure your fingers are clear. You don't want, your fingers are clean. You don't want any ink on your fingers because you don't want to accidentally put a smudge on whatever you're inking. And ink can be used on metal. It can be used on fabric, of course. Make sure I don't have any ink on my surface. How cute are these? Wasn't that a nice, simple, quick, and easy project using ink? Thanks for joining me this Saturday morning. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful weekend. See you soon.